All my whole life they told me that white folks started slavery, but the whole time that was some nigga named Anthony Johnson.
A black guy named Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson came to the United States in 1621. Came in from England as a free black. And head rights in those days says anybody coming to the country can get 640 acres free right off the bat. Then plus you can get another 500-600 acres for every slave that you own. He immediately went and had 13 blacks. So within a few years, about 15 years, he was one of the richest blacks in the colonies.
Yeah, I'm a nigga, but I'm like a redneck at heart.
Now, go up to 1638. He had all kinds of land and a whole bunch of slaves, getting close to about 70, 80 slaves now. And a white guy went over to one of his plantations. And one of the black slaves there, named John Casor, says, why am I a slave here with this guy? He says he owns me for life. And the white fellow who was a plantation owner also said, look, he doesn't own you for life. Indentured servitude normally runs 5 or 7 years. What do you mean he's got you for life? This black guy said, I've been working for this black slave plantation owner for almost 27 years. The guy said, well, just run off and leave. Forget about it. You don't have to keep working for him. So the black slave, John Casor, ran off. Anthony Johnson then went to court. And he sued the white plantation owner who would encourage the black to run off. And the court accepted Anthony Johnson's claim against this black slave, saying that he owned that slave for life. Now, what happened there never had ever happened on the history of the earth with black folk and in this country, where all of a sudden a person laid claims against the individual for the rest of his entire naked life. And it was a black man. And once that court decision was made, whites picked it up. That became enslavement codes, both explicitly and implicitly. And all the states began to enact it then, based on Anthony Johnson's ruling in court that he owns another black person for life.
So you mean to tell me the white man tried to help the black slave ran off, the black man that owned the black slave took the white man to court that tried to help the black man, won the case, and then started a new revolution of owning slaves for life? Woo! Y'all know my slogan. What's going on in America?
Did you know that the first legal slave owner in America was a black man? Yep, we're going to get into it. But before we get into it, welcome back, class, to Night History School, where we go over the unfiltered truth of history that is usually covered up or just not touched at all. But here we're going to dive into it. We're going to call roll, but instead of calling all of these names as our classroom grow, I just want y'all to show me you are present by liking this video, following my page, and commenting just to let me know you were here. Also, the rules I have is no texting, no talking on the phone. I need you paying attention. My second rule is take you a little drink. And I see my white class in here. Y'all looking a little too happy about this one. Woo! Black people in my class, they look like they won't fight me in the back. But that's all right. The truth is hard. It's hard, y'all. And we can't argue that history is being taken out of class in schools if when real history comes at you, you don't want to hear it. You cannot make history convenient for you. All right? Let's get into it. So in 1621, a African black man came into America by way of Virginia to be an indentured servant. Yes, he was not a slave. He was an indentured servant. At that time, slavery was not around yet in America. It was all indentured servants, which was completely different than slavery. This was very popular among Africans as well as Europeans coming to the country. At that time, indentured servants would typically have a set amount of years that they would have to work underneath their owner or master, which typically was about 5 to 7 years. A lot of people that were in servitude came from a few different things. Mainly, it could have been that they owed a debt to someone. They were captured and sold into servitude, or they had committed a crime. So Johnson, he served his time as an indentured servant. He finished his time, and right when he finished his indentured servitude, he had enough money to start purchasing land. By 1651, he had already amassed 250 acres of land. He also had become one of the wealthiest free black men in the colony. And he owned probably about 15 slaves, I would say. It says he owned about 6 to 7 African slaves, and the other half was white. He was very wealthy, and things took a turn. It took a turn in 1653, where one of Johnson's African servants by the name of John Casor, or Casor, claimed that his term of service was over, and he left to work for another white neighbor. Johnson sued that white neighbor and demanded that Casor be returned. He brought this to the Virginia court, and it took 2 years for the Virginia court to make this settlement. But in 1655, they ruled in Johnson's favor, and they declared Casor a slave for life. And this was the first legal time ever in American history where it was someone being a slave for life. And it changed the courtroom drastically, y'all, and it changed American history. And this didn't happen by a white slave master. It happened by a black man. And I want to continue to tell you that he was African. He was not a black or a Negro American that was already here. And over time after that case, the court started making laws against Africans owning slaves, owning land. Because at that time in the colonies, an African could become free. He can purchase land. He can even own a firearm at that time. But all of those laws changed, and then slavery started now to solely depend on race or a color of skin. And this was the first time that it started happening in America, because this was not the United States yet. Okay? But ironically, he passed away in 1670, and the Virginia government ended up seizing all of his land, y'all. And they declared that he was an alien because he was an African. Yep. We can tie that into a lot of stuff today. And ending this video, I just want to say that a lot of your first slave owners, or your first black slave owners in this country, was not born in this country. They came from Africa. A lot of your people, or Negro Americans that were born here and here before the slave trade, they did not have slaves, but many of them had servants and the help. But this changed everything, because slavery was already happening in Africa. They were already capturing tribes and selling them off into slavery. That was not happening here yet until this case. So in this case, Anthony Johnson was the first legal slave owner in America. He was the first slave master to make someone a slave for life. I know it sucks. White people, y'all clapping a little too much. But I understand why y'all clapping. We learn about white slave masters all our life, but we rarely ever touch on these black ones. Many of you probably did know this, but a lot didn't. So, to wrap it up, please comment, please like, please share. We're going to do a real deep dive coming soon on these things. I kind of did an overview because I don't want to give it all yet. But make sure you also check out that link in my bio. It's going to show you a little more information on what I have going on. And if you want to buy a drink for me, you can go ahead and send me $1 or $2 or 1,000. You know, the Democratic Party, they always tell me that you white people are paying me to talk like this. So prove them right for once, all right? Talk to y'all tomorrow. I look forward to seeing all these comments. Ooh.
So welcome back, guys. When you watch videos like this, it's really very shocking. All credit to the original content creators. It's amazing to understand that slavery is beyond just the issue of color. Like I said in some of my videos that I did, those of you who've been following up on this channel, I said that every known race on the face of the earth at one point in time, whether they are blacks, whether they are whites, whether they are Hispanians, whether they are Latinos, whether they are Arabs, had practiced some form of slavery. And these are some of the things or some of the truths that are not put out there, that are not, taught in our schools. And to understand that the face of modern day slavery in the Americans or the United States, then it was not the United States, it was America, was shaped by a man who was once a slave, and was freed, Anthony Jonathan, and that he could influence the policy that became the double-headed hydra is shocking. And to know that this guy was from Africa, because at the point in time, native tribes, native people were already selling their brothers, their sisters to the white Europeans for a bottle of gin, for a mirror, for a wrapper, piece of cloth, and the likes. And it became a booming business. And so I just want to know what your thoughts, your opinions are in the comment section. I think that when we want to look at the phase of slavery and its negative or ripple effect across the globe, we need to look at the involvement of virtually all the tribes, or the various ethnic groups or nationalities, as the case may be. So I want to know what your thoughts, your opinions are. If you love what we do and you're coming across this content on this YouTube channel, please do good to hit that subscription button, hit that notification button, so that when we bring up new updates, you'll be the first to be notified. Trust that we'll see you again on our next video. Ciao.